This is Yerushalmi Shabbos, and the article Ozvar edition where on Mamish at the top of page out on Ralph, Tani Tkuim, first words on the page, which in the Vilna is on Samaches on the base, not the first words on the page, but almost the first words, the fourth word on the page, Tani Tkuim. Problem is, we're going to change the Girsa. Change the Girsa like Gina Shastas. And that's the article, as I just saw. Tani, Kavuim. If something was kavua, meaning it's you have let's say a knife and a handle, and it is nailed together. Chibur l'tuma lazoya. It is connected to be a chibur and tuma. In other words, if the blade becomes tummy, the handle becomes tummy, vice versa. And lazoya, if you sprinkle paraduma water on the blade, then the handle also is considered to have been sprinkled on, and vice versa. However, taking out the net, as Glina Shas does the next 6 words. So it should be hanitoli v'hanitani in a chibur. But if they can be, they're not kavua with nails together, but rather you can remove them and put them back together again. It's not a chibur lolatuma. If the blade becomes tummy, the handle's not become tummy, and vice versa. And for azoya, blade be spinning on the blade, it's not spinning on the handle, vice versa. But so here, how can you say that? To like we said yesterday, that there's such a concept as if you're a tokea by Bina Mekalim, it's considered to be a proper form of Bina Mekalim. You talk about Reza Chayev. What do you mean? You need to have nails. So he says, depends. Talmud darken the kaveh. Where normally the way two things are put together is to put them together by nails. If it's not put together by nails, it's not a chibur, not for tuman avazah. But by certain things, the kaviyah, meaning the tekiah is the gemar melacha. When you shove the two parts together, that's going to be the gemar melacha, and therefore you are chayev, and therefore you did, even though there are no nails, you sprinkle the one part, sprinkle the other part, one becomes tummy, the other parts it becomes tummy. So it all depends on the quality of the vessel which you're talking about. If normally the connection between its halves is by nails, you need nails, otherwise it's not considered to be kavua, it wouldn't be chayav opinion mekalim. If normally it is tekiah, it's considered to be sufficient, so then, once you're tokea, so then that's a opinion mekalim, and it's a chibur for tuma and for hazor. So markiv karnagula chayav. Karnagula, it's a type of horn. Type of musical instrument. You're chayev. Kerem shuta, you are potter. The evidently karnagula, it's somehow it's the way it's constructed. It requires tekiah, and once you're tokea, it's considered to be permanently affixed together. Whereas the kerem pshuta, I guess because it's straight, it's made to come in and out, and therefore, if you put it together on Shabbos, to Bar Shabbos, you are putter. If you did the branches of menorah, and they again were made to be put in their tekiah, and therefore, if you put in their tekiah, then you are chayev b'nei kalim on Shabbos. Kanashel sayodin. It says sayodin in the Gemara. Korban age changes to sayodin. Is the tool, the stick used by people who plaster, and they put in segments in order to make it longer and shorter in order to plaster at a height or a distance. So those are made to come in and out. So therefore, you're potter. The Tkanim Menorah Lomru Chayav, and the word explains what you chayav and Tkanim Menorah. Rabbi Bo Shem Rabbi Yechanan, Rabbi Chuna Tarveyon Omrin. They both said Mishum Baina because of construction. This is the beginning of Kalim because made that permanently. Koner Shel Tzayodin Lomru Potter. Yeshum Milamalo Lamato, because sometimes you go up and sometimes you go down. Right, the way the Moshe puts it, sometimes the segment which is on top is on bottom, sometimes the segment which is on bottom is on top. They're interchangeable and collapsible, and they're made to come in and out, and therefore it's not going to be a permanent, and therefore not a binyan. Hey Sivun, so they asked, Hareha Chover b'cholos. somebody who's digging in sand. So he also puts segments in order to support the sand on the side. He puts in segments of wood and connects them together in order to make sure that the sand doesn't collapse in the hole. So harei milamatu. So they're also the segments of he's using of these boards are interchangeable. Sometimes some on the top, sometimes some on the bottom. So the avatam chayv, you say it's chayv. So the Gemara says it depends. Amar shva yudin kan l'shah kan l'shos. Depends doing it temporarily, leaving it permanently. In other words, ein economy. If it's made to come in and out, and it's interchangeable, and it's going to be used this elsewhere a short period of time, so then there's no binyan. If you made if you decide to leave it there, which then that even though once upon a time they're interchangeable and they still could be interchangeable, but since you decide to leave them there, so therefore it's good to be for a binyan, and therefore you are chayiv. Shmuel said, Hamalchim es hatrisin. So it says here, I guess it's Hamalchis. It's supposed to be Hamalchim. As the name Moshe explains, it's somebody who connects the two parts of a what are they called when they go a trace is a what's that translate trace in English? A shutter. It's also blind, but it's a shutter. You use a shutter for you put in front of a store. So Malchim es hatrisin, it's here spelled with the tzadi, but it's in the Bible, of course, spelled with the samach. So you connect them together. The carbonate Moshe says use like kind of a hinge in order to latch them together somehow. So this is Chai Mishum Baina. And it's a Chai Mishum Baina because you're putting these shutters into place in order to close up your store. But Kasha, it's difficult. B'Shabbos Chayav Chatas. Okay, you said B'Shabbos is Chayav Chatas. B'Tzil Matir Af L'Hachzir. Basically allows you to put it back on Yotif because it says on Yotif you're allowed to put back your treason. So how you allowed to do it on Yotif if on Shabbos it is Chayav Chatas? So the Gemara says said he tiru soiva mitchiloso. These are this is permitted because of ochel nefesh, because you need to get at your store. In your stock, in your stockpile, so therefore they allowed you to put it back, even though you don't have to do it anymore because you took stuff out of the store and now you're just closing up the store. I don't open it up. Maybe you couldn't do it because you might have to close it, but they allowed you to put it back. Because otherwise you're not going to begin. If you tell him they can't put it back, it's not going to open. Okay, so that's more of a life talk. What's the big deal? They might open a store on Yontif. No, Afu Memai b'Simchas Yontif. He's diminishes Simchas Yontif because he's not going to take the food which he needs in order to be Sameach. So the Mora says still. Omar Abiyacha Marzir Bilvad Shle'achzir Kol Tzako. You can't put it back the way you put it back on a weekday. That would be considered evidently be to either bona mamish or too similar to bona. So they have to put it back, not in the way the Kormei says lo yitka. Don't put it back firmly in place, but loosely in place, or that it shouldn't be a bona. That's how we reconcile. Even though at Shabbos, if you tokea, you put it back, tokea when you put it back, you. Put it firmly in place, that would be considered baina, and we will not be matir on Yontif. What we're matir is to do it, put it back loosely. That's because ochel nefesh, we're matir that. So the article points out that from the Yerushalmi, it's matir this, even though it's been in Mekalim with the trisim, nevertheless, it sounds like it's a doraisa, and if you're tokea, and we're matir because of Oh, Nefesh, but as long as you don't do it the mamish in the right way, as long as you're not okay at mamish. But if he swings down from the Bavli and bases off the Alb, it sounds like Kohen Beis Hill there's no Bnei Mekalim, and therefore there's no way to come to the Doraisa here. Okay, so that could be a Machlokes Bavli Yerushalmi. Says the Gemara further. Pesach. That's if there is no opening. There says when there's no opening, Bateva B'chanus, we're talking about a box or about a store, they allow you to move the shutters. But Avayesha Pesach, there's already a opening some other ways out of moving the shutters. Mishtamish Pesach, we don't let you remove the shutters. Use the opening which exists. I count them Simchas Yontif because you have a way of doing Simchas Yontif as is. So now we get back to the next part of our Mishnah, which said that somebody who does a Malacha on Shabbos, a koshu, is chayiv. So it sounds like even he had in mind to do more, but he did less, but he did something which is miskayim in of itself, that's chayiv. So there's Gemara, Masnisin, Moshe says, Delok Rabbi Shimon. It's not like Rabbi Shimon. The Tanya HaGoreit, somebody who scrapes, HaKodeh, who drills, cuts, koshu, even the minimum amount, b'Shabbos is chayiv, it's Tanakama. Shimon HaGoreit, Yogu Kol Tzarko. No, if you're scraping, so you scrape all you intended to scrape. HaKodeh, HaKodeh Kol Tzarko, until you drill all that you were meant to drill. HaKotzetz, if you cut, HaKotzetz Kol Tzarko, until you do all you want to cut. However, the sword, if you tan or hide, HaKotzetz Kol Tzarko, until you do all you intended to do. V'lo Amar Rabbi Yaakov, the lo as Amar Yabracha lo asya ella the it says Rabbi Shimon, and it's so the way the Korban says it's bitmiya, right? It doesn't like Shimon, but Rabbanan Asya is going to Rabbanan. Okay, so in any event, before we go further with that idea, there are actually two much easier ways of doing it. One of them is the Levi Shimon brings down from the near. It takes the word Ella. Rabbi Shimon. Amish is not going to Rabbi Shimon, right? And the other way is to change it from, this is my suggestion, I don't see it anywhere, but I'm just going to look Rabbanan. Same idea, right? If you take like the near, you take out the word Ella, and there goes Lo Asek Rabbi Shimon. It's like Rabbi Shimon, or you leaving the word Ella. It's not going like Rabbi Shimon, but it's going to Rabbanan. Rabbi Shimon Lo Avad Mitzvahs Malacha Kula. Rabbi Shimon obviously holds Mitzvahs Malacha is not Kula, and our Mishnah says that Mitzvahs Malacha is Kula. So even a koshu. So therefore, clearly, our Mishnah is not going like Rabbi Shimon, it's going like Rabbanan. Again, Lo Asek Ella. Rabbi Shimon Lava mixes Lokim Kula, Ran Avni mixes Malacha Kula. Okay, so next Gemara goes further. Right? So even though you're not doing anything constructive to the object because you're already finished with it, you're still chayiv, right? Because you're fixing the hammer for next time. So the kasha it's difficult. If you take something in order to, you take a scythe in order to harvest, you don't harvest. Shema klumu, is there anything? In other words, okay, you're preparing the hammer to use for next time, but you're not doing anything with it now. It's just preparation for next time. So why is that considered to be chayiv? Now, that's the way we learned the Pshat in the Mishnah. But there's another way of learning Pshat in the Mishnah. And the Korban Eder brings down. Kasha Shigam Leo, the Komar, Afa Maka, name Moshe also. Afa Maka, Bekudas Asad Chayiv, Halab Midi Ovid. And the reason Korban Shigam Leo Chayiv is Nesha Imen Yodav, Lasos Malacha. Because you are, not because you actually fixed the hammer, but rather because you trained yourself how to do it. Okay, Mishnah so if somebody just takes a tool, a scythe, in order to harvest, there's a coats there. Nami Yechayiv is also Chayiv, because you're getting ready, you're preparing yourself, you're Ma'amen Yodo to do it. It's only his potter, quite everybody. So either question is because you're just preparing the hammer for next time, but not actually doing anything with it. It's not a Gemara Malacha either, because I can't say it's called Makra Patish because it's just beginning, because you're preparing the hammer to use for next time. And the other question is, what do you mean? Just if you're training yourself to do it, so that's not doing it. So it's like just take up a scythe in order to harvest, not harvesting. So Rabbi Yehuda, Tani, we learned Hashovet v'amekatket al harig. So the Shovet says the Korban Eda Hamiyasha Shasiba Kakoro ala H Shorosh Echad. You strengthen the warp thread on the spindle, the shuttle, in order, which has a sharp edge. So in order to throw it between the woof threads. So you're preparing it for next time. And Mekatkate also is al-arik, the hukmo amadakdek. You stretch the weft threads. The makeh b'karkalem, you beat them with the shuttle. Yashvan, in order to make them straight. They shouldn't be, or I guess it shouldn't be too taut. If it's too taut, it won't get woven properly when you throw a shuttle across. So it's chayv mivnei shum kimyashe biyodo. This says the shamaka zug remes. The Goremes HaChibur, Miyashem Lachas Malachto Lahaba. So this somehow this results in the work being prepared to do for the next time. And really that's a chiv in of itself. The Makunos Asada Goremes Hamalach Chayna Favas Chos Malacha. So he holds Shovet and Mekatket are chayev, because you are a preparation to do malacha is also for malacha. So therefore, here also it's like according to our Pshat in the Mishnah, it's miyashiv yodo. You are smoothing it, the miyashiv malacha. According to understanding that it's, and in fact the Bavli does have a lashon shem amen es yodo. So according to that, it's going on his training himself. And somehow he's training himself by doing shovet umekatket, and therefore training himself also with the hammer to blow properly. That also would be a form of malacha. So either again, it's because of preparation for next time is a malacha, because Yehuda, or because preparing himself, garnering the expertise and preparing himself to do it is in of itself a malacha, not because you're preparing for the next time the objects, but because you're preparing yourself for next time. Okay, says the Mishnah, Hakoresh Koshu, somebody who plows, no matter how little. Hamanakish, somebody who weeds. Hamakarsim, somebody who removes dry twigs from a tree. Hamazaritim removes moist twigs. Koshim, a small chayev, you're liable. Hamalakit, 18, somebody guys wood letaken to fix the ground underneath. You have collecting the wood, which is impeding your planting in the field, or somehow the tree. Letaken, if it's doing taken koshin, no matter how little. Im lahasi, if doing it in order to get fuel. We always have already many times the amount of fuel to cook a light egg. I'm lacking somebody who's gathering grass. Im letaken, taken koshin, if you didn't fix the ground. So as little as you take, im lame, we take it to feed an animal, so it's not as much as will fill a goat. of goat's mouth. So, kid's mouth. So Gemara asks, "Ma charisha is the Mishkan?" What was the charisha in the Mishkan? What were they plowing? Shuchoshni tasa money. They were plowing in order to plant the dyes which they used in the coloring of the materials, or the Korban says the samani they use for the Shem and HaMishcha. Kama yakrosh yechayev, how much you charish, and are you chayev for that? What's considered to be a koshu k'tei lita krisha, to plant the crest, which is evidently a small thing. Rabbi Bob B'Shem Ram said k'tei lita zachrusa shel chita. It's order to plant the sharp part of the wheat, which evidently the part of it which goes in the ground. Talmud lived over there. That the previous parak was Zerak Yishu in Shnayim. You take seeds of a squash, it's 2 seeds. Zerak Luin Shnayim. The seeds of a gourd, it's 2 seeds. Tani Chitim Adios Shnayim. And Chitim Adios also, the shear was 2. Even though this is food stuff and should be chayav in a grogeres, we said Rabbi Shmuel B'Shem Rabbi Zir said only chitim. The chitim are food stuff. Chitin aidei shein chavivos, since the chitin are precious, so therefore they made the shear a much smaller shear, like the garden seeds which are not eaten. Same shear as kishuin and luin, which is 2 seeds. Okay, so the Gemara asks Lomali. So the way the Gemara changes gears and said Lomali letaken koshu. Then said Lomali again lebehema kumlo kipigdi, and he explains. Lomali the tiny b'seva gambi as something letaken koshu. Why you have to tell me koshu is chayav asaki? No, time the ratio. Based on taking koshu. We already know from the ratio that the wood, as much as takes the taking, it can be koshu. Maybe not about something din kain. So that's not by grass. Mishani and the answer is we would have known that. But in libhema kimlo it's lekachtai now attack koshu. Since you tell me that if you're doing it for food, then it's attack kimlo pikdi. So therefore you tell me that that's only if it's doing it for food. If you're doing it for the purpose, it's telling us that the takin koshu, in order to, like the ratio, which is redundant, in order to get to the next part, which is, but if you're doing it in order to make food out of it, so then it's kumlo pikdi. Okay, says the next Mishnah. Kosif shteos, somebody writes two letters, ben mino ben mismolo, whether it's his right hand or his left hand. Ben mishemer ben mishtei shemos, whether they are the same name, meaning they're both the same letter, or they're two different letters. Should say that the Moshe says ben mino ben mismolo dafka b'shol b'shtei yodav. B'shav, it's your ambidextrous. But if you are only right-handed or left-handed, so you only chayav with the dominant hand. Okay, so ben b'shtei simonios. So even if it's not letters, if it's 2 signs, 2 symbols, b'chol lashon, and in any language, whatever language you're using, chayav. He says that the reason is the chayav in 2 letters is because you used to use letters to match up the components of the Mishkan. So it's an olive here and olive there in order to match them up. So therefore, even chayav even on a rishima, whatever sign is going to help you to match stuff up. It doesn't have to be an actual letter. Because they used to make the rishima on the boards of the Mishkan. Later, Ezu ben Zug to know which one goes next. You're chayav on if you didn't complete a name, you didn't do a full gemar malacha, you did a partial malacha, but it's malacha miskayim, it's malacha macher, as we said previous mishnayos, then you're chayav. And what's the example? Shem, Shimon, and Shmuel. If you wrote Shem, the first 2 letters of Shimon and Shmuel, since that is actually, even though it's a mem, not mem sofis, but still it's read like a mem. So therefore, it's considered to be sufficient to be a malacha. Even if you had in mind to wrote Shimon, you wrote Shem, that's enough. And Shmuel as well, Noach mi Nochar, Dan mi Daniel, God mi Gadiel, all those is considered to be sufficient to be mechayev you. Okay, that brings us, I think, to the top of hey. Yeah. So we'll stop here for today.